Stress and burnout is real. You see people that are living this kind of a burnout lifestyle, stressed out lifestyle, because they're the ones getting on social media and saying things like, I don't want to stay in the USA because I don't want to go bankrupt because of health insurance in my old age. Well, who said that in your old age? What is old age? I mean, if you mean when you retire, why is your body and your mind so worn out that it's going to break?
So these are homemade jams. Why make them? Well, you get to eat the way you want to eat. Like, you want to eat things that are natural, that give you good health, so you don't have to worry too much about health care and have good health instead. You get to do things that are important to you, and this is one of them. And have lunch with homemade strawberry jam and cherry jam with no processed sugars in them. I really like them both.
If you want to know how to make these jams, just let us know and we'll make a video. Let us know in the comments below if you're interested in something like this, an all-natural jam that's really tasty.
Hey there, too burned out, too stressed out. And this theme of stressed out, burned out is common, very common in this industrial age of ours, which is all we know unless we read about other time periods. But I'm also going to give you 3 ways to avoid burnout, stress out. I was just out on the veranda of my office and it was a little windy, so I moved back over here in the back office. Many of you may have heard the story of the fisherman. The Mexican man was fishing, just with the pole, and the foreigner walks up and says, "Hey, how you doing?" Great. What's going on? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what you going on? I'm just going to catch a fish and go home. He said, "Oh, yeah? Well, if you just fish all day, for all month long, maybe you can sell more fish and buy yourself a boat." He said, yeah, I could. And then what would I do? He said, well, then once you've got that boat, you could catch a lot more fish and you could make even more money, and then you could save up and buy 2 or 3 more boats and maybe have a fleet of boats. And the Mexican said, yeah, okay, sounds good. And then what would I do? And he said, well, once you got a fleet of boats, then you could, hire people, and you could build a big business, and, you could buy a property. And he said, yeah, sounds good. Then what would I do? And the foreigner said, well, then you could sell out and, be rich. And so the Mexican fisherman said, oh, great, that sounds good. And then what would I do? And the foreigner said, well, then you could just go fishing all day. I'm paraphrasing. I heard this story years ago, and so I hope I got it right, but that's pretty much the gist of it. But this is where the stress comes from, and it's a mentality thing. It kind of sneaks up on us because we're focusing. We want to do too much, and instead of focusing on each day, one day at a time. And when you see us here at the beach, it's not about. I don't want to give the impression that we're advocating complete 100% leisure. When you're looking at having a balanced life, there is some relaxation and leisure that you do every day, and it may not be going to the beach every day. We go to the beach once or twice a week, and then it could take different forms depending on who you are, where you're at, and what you're doing and where you're at, and this kind of thing, your values. So the ways to avoid the burnout and the stress out, how I do it is, don't take on too many commitments. I used to have this problem years ago. Some people call it a type A personality, right? And this is used in American culture sort of as a compliment. Oh, look at me, I have a type A personality. That means I'm capable of taking on multiple projects at one time. See how smart I am? And you tell yourself that because that's what I did. I told myself, wow, I'm so bright. I can do all these things all at once, and but it's beyond that though. beyond that, it was just, I have a natural curiosity about me that tends to pursue things. When I see something interesting, I tend to want to know more about it. And that in and of itself would cause me to put one more thing on my list, on my list of things to be doing. I realized after a while that I was spreading myself too thin and I was losing my focus. I literally would have 5 or 10, I'm not kidding, 5 or 10 different projects going at one time, and of course most of them didn't get finished. Because you can't, I don't care how type A personality you are, unless you're delegating, you personally aren't going to be able to do that. So you don't want to spread yourself too thin. Usually for most people it's going to be around 2 or 3 different things that you've got going on. All right, and you don't really only want to be doing one thing. So there's a fine line here. It can't be too many things, but it can't be too few things. If it's too few things, what happens is we become bored, dissatisfied, and some of us, depending on our personalities, in other words, some people will get bored sooner, quicker, this kind of thing. So when you have 2 to 3 different projects, I can work on, say, project number 1 today, and I can devote, say, 2 hours to it. And then I can move on to project number 2 and devote 2 hours to that project. And this is a simplified version. I'm not saying it has to be exactly 2 hours or 2 hours each. This could be, you can vary it around. But you get my point. And then on project number 3, maybe I spend 2 hours on that, and that's 6 hours. And then you've got your leisure. So you see how that works? You've got your leisure, and this is the next thing. Each project is something you want to be doing. It's something you enjoy doing. Whereas, well, you might say, well, Frank, what do you mean? I mean, I've got projects, I do things, but I'm burned out. Well, you got to go back to the beginning. If you are focusing on either too many projects or that one project becomes so important that people keep devoting all of their time to it, and they want it to be this big, huge success that they literally burn themselves out. And this leads me to the next thing. Don't listen to gurus that tell you it's okay and it's normal to burn yourself out. There's plenty of them out there. Don't listen to them. Shut them out. As soon as you hear this kind of garbage, just turn it off. Don't listen to them. It's not worth your physical health, your mental health. And this leads me to the next thing. You will find yourself, when you segregate your day like this, that you are still able to do the things that you A, need to do, B, want to do, and C, prioritize your day in such a way that all of a sudden you've achieved a balance. I'll give you an example of my lifestyle from years back. I would wake up in the morning and I would walk around the pool, stretch out a little bit. Then I would maybe get on the computer, or I would more than likely check my messages and see if any customers had called me and left any messages. Then I would maybe check on, spend an hour or two doing some auctions, looking for things online. Maybe I would buy something. Then when I was done with that, I would schedule maybe a pickup. I'd go pick something up. Then the next couple hours, I might go out into the garden and do a little gardening for about an hour. Then I'd go check the bees for about an hour. Then I'd eat lunch. Then I'd check some more auctions for about an hour. Then I'd swim in the pool with my wife for about an hour. Then I would maybe do some studying and some reading for an hour or two. Then I would, for the next 2 or 3 hours in the evening, maybe do some marketing, some calling to some customers. That would be pretty much almost every day, except for maybe 2 or 3 days of the week. I would go out and service 1 or 2 customers on those days, so that I would maybe spend anywhere around 2 to 3 hours, and that includes the driving, on average, servicing some customers maybe 2 or 3 days a week. So you can see that there's a complete balance, and I just said all that to give you an insight on what that might look like, because stress and burnout is real. I have had people ask, what is your day like and this kind of things. Next thing I'm making is some homemade ginger ale. Just everything totally natural. Nothing unnatural in it. And then I also make my own fermented cheese and kefir and all that kind of stuff. So, I do spend a little bit of time taking care of our health. And I mean, you can spend your time doing some activity to pay for health care, or you can spend your time doing some activity that takes care of your health that tastes good. Exactly. And you do it in your own home. Yeah, so if there's any long time people left on the channel, you'll know that we've made some videos back in the Salinas, Ecuador days, where we were making a lot of fermented things in the kitchen, and so we're still doing that. So that was we've been doing this for 5 years. So this has nothing to do with any recent occurrence or anything like that. Just thought I'd mention that. So this is the ginger ale, and it's going to sit for 3 days and ferment. You see people that are living this kind of a burnout lifestyle, stressed out lifestyle, because they're the ones getting on social media and saying things like, I don't want to stay in the USA because I don't want to go bankrupt because of health insurance in my old age. Well, who said that in your old age? What is old age? I mean, if you mean when you retire, why is your body and your mind so worn out that it's going to break? You see where I'm going with this? It's not automatically that your body breaks down. This is, I probably don't really want to be talking about this, because health is like a cult in America. There's like a cult following where people aren't really putting 2 and 2 together. They don't really understand. We don't understand that our choices and actions are a direct result of what we see happening to other people or some people, and then therefore we predict happening to us because we didn't make the right choices, and therefore we end up stressed out, burned out, and then we end up in the pile of used up, burned out, stressed out, and then we think we're going to be needing all this quote-unquote health care. There's just way too much focus on this health care in America, and I have rubbed shoulders with international consultants that have clients all over the globe, and they tell me that their U.S. clients have the worst health problems. In other words, they're the most unhealthy in the world, and yet America is also the most health insured, just about at the top in the world. So what's wrong with that picture? Anyway, I hope I've encouraged you to see that you do have the power to change your life, and you do have the power to make choices. It all comes back to our thinking and our mindset. But I thank you for staying with the video. Thanks for coming to the channel. I hope you got something out of that. Have a wonderful day.